Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a look at a market you might not think much about, but it's actually, well, steadily expanding. Halogen handheld flashlights.
That's right.
We've got insights here from Cognitive Market Research's 2025 Global Edition report. And our mission really is to sift through all that data and pull out the key takeaways for you.
Yep, cut right to the chase.
Exactly. Help you get a quick handle on this surprisingly durable little industry. So, why might you find this interesting? I mean, maybe you're prepping for a meeting, or you're just curious about these, niche markets, or perhaps you just like finding these odd trends in unexpected corners. Like, why are these older flashlights still selling?
Exactly. And it's that kind of specific curiosity, looking at, say, halogen flashlights, that often opens up bigger pictures.
Right.
You start seeing these broader economic patterns, consumer behaviors maybe, that you wouldn't spot otherwise.
Yeah.
Especially when you compare it to newer tech like LEDs.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The big question is, right, in an age where LEDs seem to be everywhere, why is this halogen flashlight market not just surviving, but actually, well, growing? Let's start with the global view, the big picture figures. So this report, it says the market pulled in sales revenue of roughly $1.37 billion in 2021.
Okay, not insignificant.
Not at all. And here's the really interesting part. It's forecast to grow pretty consistently, hitting about $1.64 billion by 2025, and then pushing further, maybe $2.36 billion by 2033.
Wow, okay. And what's driving that? Do they give a growth rate?
Yeah, they do. The compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, for this whole period is pegged at 4.612%. Let's call it 4.6%.
Right, 4.6%. So what that tells me is it's a steady, really consistent growth. Not explosive, but solid.
Yeah.
For technology some might see as, well, a bit dated, it suggests there's this stable underlying demand, a kind of quiet resilience,
Right, despite LEDs.
Exactly. Despite the competition. It means it's not just fading away. There must be some core uses, specific applications maybe, where halogen just still makes sense.
That consistency really is striking. Okay,
Right.
so where is this growth actually concentrated? Let's dig into the regions, starting with North America.
Sure.
It accounts for, wow, roughly a third of the whole global market. Pulled in nearly $400 million in 2021. $397.56 million to be precise.
Oh, yeah.
And it's set to grow to over $649 million by 2033. The CAGR there is a bit lower than global, around 4%.
Right, 4.014%.
Now, the U.S. is obviously the big chunk of that.
Yeah.
$313 million in 2021, growing to over $500 million. Its CAGR is about 3.8%.
Okay, so slightly under the regional average.
Yeah, but here's what caught my eye. Canada, smaller market, sure, $46.9 million in 2021, but it's growing faster. Forecasted to hit almost $84 million by 2033, with the CAGR closer to 5%, 4.915%.
Ooh, interesting.
And Mexico's doing well, too. Similar story. $37 million growing to $64 million, CGR around 4.5%.
Yeah, that is interesting. So the U.S. is the heavyweight, no surprise there.
Yeah.
But Canada and Mexico showing faster relative growth.
Right. What do you make of that?
Well, it suggests, maybe more dynamic expansion in specific sectors there. The report hints it could be things like industrial needs,
Yeah.
construction, maybe emergency services,
Ah,
places where maybe that broad, intense halogen beam, the fact it hits full power instantly, is still really valued.
Yeah.
Or maybe durability in tough weather. That could play a bigger role in parts of Canada or specific Mexican industries.
that makes sense. Specific niches where it outperforms. Okay, how about a different kind of market, like Europe? More established, lots of different economies there.
Right, Europe.
Yeah.
Its market was over $260 million in 2021, projected to hit nearly $430 million by 2033. So a solid CAGR there to about 4.1%.
Okay. And within Europe, any standouts?
Well, you've got the big players.
Yeah.
The UK, about $30 million growing to $46 million,
Uh-huh.
but a slower CAGR, around 3.3%.
Okay.
Germany, a bit larger, $41 million going to $64 million, similar CAGR, about 3.3%.
Yeah.
But then look at France.
France, what's happening there?
It started at around $37.5 million in 2021, but it's projected to hit over $67 million by 2033. Its CAGR is 5.15%, much stronger.
Wow. Yeah, that really jumps out compared to the UK and Germany.
It does. Italy's also showing decent growth, around 4.6% CAGR. Russia, a bit slower, like the UK and Germany, around 3.5%. But France is the interesting one in that group.
So why France? Any clues in the report? What's driving that?
It seems to be strong demand in like specific professional areas, things like security work, auto repair, general industrial maintenance.
Ah, trades and industry.
Exactly. Fields where maybe the consistent light quality or how the light penetrates fog or dust. Maybe halogen still has an edge for certain tasks. Or perhaps in really hot or cold environments where some LEDs might struggle. It points to a very targeted specific demand.
Got it. Okay, now let's shift gears. Let's talk about Asia Pacific. This region looks like a giant in this market.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Huge market size, over $547 million back in 2021, expected to grow to almost $1 billion, $976 million by 2033. And look at this regional CAGR, 5.06%. That's leading the pack globally, right?
Yeah, that's the highest regional CAGR we've seen so far. Significant.
Okay, so within Asia Pacific, China and Japan are big, naturally. China, $172 million going to $289 million, CAGR around 4.7%. Japan, $134 million up to $224 million, similar CAGR, 4.7%.
Pretty much in line with the global average, maybe a bit higher, steady.
But then India, this really jumped out, started at almost $90 million in 2021, projected to hit over $177 million by 2033. The CAGR, a whopping 6.007%.
6%. Okay, that is remarkable growth. That's definitely an aha moment in the data.
Right. What does that tell us? Why India specifically?
Well, it's not just population size, so that's part of it. The report suggests it's really tied into rapid infrastructure development,
So.
industrial expansion, absolutely, and just a persistent need for durable, but also importantly, cost-effective lighting. Halogen fits that bill.
Right. Cheaper up front, maybe?
Exactly. In many areas, particularly rural or developing ones, these flashlights might just be more practical, more robust than maybe more delicate or expensive options. They're a workhorse tool. India's growth and the region's scale overall is just critical to the whole global picture here.
That paints a really clear picture. It's about fundamental needs driving the persistence of this tech.
Okay, let's quickly round out the map. South America.
South America's looking strong, too. Market was over $92 million in 2021.
Okay.
Forecasted to grow to $175 million by 2033. And look at that CAGR, 5.7%. Really robust.
Very strong. Brazil leading the way there.
Yeah. Brazil's the main driver, expected to grow significantly. Argentina, Colombia, others are contributing too, mostly with key GRs in the 3 to 6% range. Solid growth across the board.
Okay. Then we have the Middle East. What's the story there?
A bit different. Smaller market, about $54 million in 2021. Projected to grow, but more slowly, reaching about $75 million by 2033.
And the CAGR.
That's the interesting bit. It's the lowest we've seen, 2.4%.
Huh. Just over 2%. Why so slow compared to others? Well, the report mentions key countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, UAE. Demand seems steady, but maybe there are growth challenges. Or perhaps a faster adoption of LED tech in some of those economies.
Right.
It's not declining, but certainly not booming like other regions.
Okay. Steady but slow. And finally, Africa.
Africa. Now, this is a story. Smallest market size currently, yes. Under $24 million in 2021.
Right.
But the growth trajectory is incredible, projected to surge to nearly $57 million by 2033.
And the CAGR must be
The highest,
by far.
8.349%.
Wow. Over 8%. That's huge.
It really is. Nigeria, South Africa, and the rest of Africa category are all driving this rapid expansion.
So you have this stark contrast, right? The Middle East with the slowest growth and Africa with by far the fastest.
Exactly. It's fascinating. It really makes you wonder about the underlying conditions. Why such different paths for the same product? Is it about infrastructure levels? Rural needs, where robust, cheap lighting is essential? Maybe slower electrification in some areas? Or just the stage of industrial development? Africa's growth suggests a huge demand for basic, reliable tools as development ramps up. Very different market maturity compared to the Middle East.
That really underscores how diverse the global market is, even for something seemingly simple. Okay, let's try and pull this all together. What are the big forces driving this quiet, steady global trend for halogen flashlights?
Well, connecting the dots, I think the consistent global growth at 4.6% CAGR, it's really fueled by just persistent, ongoing demand across the board, homes, businesses, industry.
Right.
It shows that even as new tech like LEDs comes along, there are still these specific, practical niches where halogen just works. It's reliable, it's affordable, it does the job. And the regional data really backs this up. You see the massive contribution from emerging markets, Asia-Pacific leading, South America strong, and especially Africa, showing huge future potential.
Yeah.
They're fundamentally shaping the future of this market, shifting the economic weight.
So there you have it. The halogen handheld flashlight market. Maybe not glamorous, but it's quietly chugging along, growing steadily worldwide. And the regional differences, the hotspots like India and Africa, they tell really interesting stories about demand and development.
Absolutely.
This deep dive using that cognitive market research report hopefully gave you a real shortcut to understanding this, well, niche, but pretty revealing market.
And maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Think about why. Why does this seemingly old technology, the halogen flashlight, persist so strongly when LEDs are everywhere?
Yeah.
What does that resilience tell us about practical needs, maybe underserved market segments, or just about fundamental consumer behavior? Sometimes the tried and true option just keeps winning, even when something newer comes along. What does that say about how markets really work?
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at something you might not think about much anymore: halogen handheld flashlights.
Right. Seems a bit old school, maybe.
Exactly. You'd think LEDs have totally taken over. But we found there's still a really interesting story here about tech, toughness, and what people actually need.
It's surprisingly complex.
So our mission today is basically to sift through what we've learned, pull out the key insights, and give you a shortcut to understanding this, well, this evolving little corner of the market.
Sound good.
Okay, so first big question. In a world flooded with LEDs, what's kept halogen flashlights hanging on? Why are they still, relevant at all?
Yeah, it's a great question. Because they seem simple, right? But the dynamics are actually quite rich. We need to explore what really kept them in the game and also the big challenges they're facing now.
Let's start maybe with why they got popular in the first place. Before LEDs were everywhere, what were their main selling points, their strengths?
Well, the number one thing, undeniably, was the sheer power of the light. Halogen flashlights were, and still are, known for really high luminance.
Luminance. So just how bright the beam itself is.
Exactly. How much light gets focused into that beam.
Yeah.
And connected to that impressive beam distance, they could really throw light far.
Oh, okay.
And that wasn't just for show. It made them indispensable for professionals.
Hmm.
Think law enforcement needing to see down a dark alley.
Or search and rescue.
Precisely. Scanning a huge area at night.
Yeah.
Or even just rugged outdoor use where you need to see way ahead.
Yeah.
You could, punch through darkness in a way other portable lights back then just couldn't.
So powerful focused light. Got it. And I've always heard they were built like tanks. Is that durability linked to the power, or is it a separate thing?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
While they're powerful, the rugged build quality is definitely another core strength. It's somewhat separate from the light itself.
Okay.
These things are often made from really durable, heat-resistant materials.
Yeah.
They're designed to take a beating,
Mm.
dropping them, extreme temperatures,
Yeah.
impacts.
Right. Stuff that happens on a job site or out in the field.
Exactly. Which is why they stayed so popular in defense, construction, emergency services. Places where reliability isn't just nice to have, it's critical. And that kind of toughness, well, it still drives demand today.
And I feel like cost comes into it too, especially maybe in some parts of the world. Are they generally cheaper?
Precisely.
Yeah.
That's another big factor. Halogen flashlights benefit from a relatively low initial cost. The technology's mature, it's well established.
So easier to produce.
Yeah, and in many markets that are more budget sensitive or maybe regions where the newest LEDs are just harder to get or too expensive,
Uh-huh.
halogen models are still the go-to choice. They're affordable, they're widely available, they serve a big slice of users globally.
Okay, so strong points. Serious power, super tough, and easier on the wallet up front. But we know tech marches on. So what are the big headwinds, the challenges facing halogens now?
Yeah, the biggest one, no question, is the huge shift towards LED technology. It's been rapid and it's ongoing.
Because LEDs offer.
Well, several really compelling advantages. They're way more energy efficient, for starters.
Meaning much better battery life.
Significantly longer battery life, often from smaller, lighter batteries.
Yeah.
And that allows for much more compact, lightweight flashlight designs, too.
Okay, that makes sense.
And these benefits are just steadily eating away at the market share for traditional halogens. It's happening across the board, consumer markets, industrial markets. It's a fundamental technology shift.
And isn't there also the heat issue with halogens? And just general efficiency. I remember old ones getting really hot.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Halogen bulbs generate a lot of heat, but that makes them less comfortable to hold for long periods.
Yeah.
And it also means they waste a lot of energy as heat. They're inherently less efficient than LEDs, which is a big deal for portable stuff where battery power is key.
Right. Every bit counts.
Plus, because the tech is well, mature. I
Yeah.
call it mature.
Huh. Right.
There's very limited product innovation happening. You don't
Yeah.
see many new breakthroughs in halogen, and they generally have a shorter lifespan than LEDs,
Okay.
which, can make people hesitant to invest in them long term. So it all leads back to that central question. If LEDs are better in so many ways, why haven't halogens just disappeared?
Exactly. That's what I'm wondering. Despite all these clear advantages for LEDs, where are halogens still holding their ground? Where did they still shine, so to speak?
They definitely have a niche, a strong niche actually, in certain specialized applications where their specific light qualities still give them an edge.
Like what, for example?
Think aviation, for
Yeah.
one, certain military-grade equipment, too, or any scenario, really, that needs an intense, focused beam, but also really superior color accuracy.
Color accuracy. Why is that so important?
Well, imagine trying to identify specific colored wires inside complex aircraft machinery, maybe during maintenance, or distinguishing faint signal flares accurately at a distance.
Ah, okay. High stakes stuff.
Exactly. Situations where a subtle difference in color perception could have serious consequences. Halogenite is naturally full spectrum, very close to sunlight, which some LEDs still struggle to replicate perfectly. So in those cases, it's indispensable.
That makes total sense, where precision trumps pure efficiency. So even if fewer new halogen flashlights are being sold overall,
Right.
there's still a steady need for like replacement bulbs and parts for all the gear that's already out there,
Yeah.
especially globally.
Exactly. There's ongoing demand in what's called the aftermarket parts and service after the initial sale. And for replacements,
Uh-huh.
this covers maintaining all that legacy equipment, older gear still being used by organizations or individuals, especially in developing countries where cost is a major factor.
Right.
Plus, you still have those budget-conscious consumers we talked about. They all keep the market for halogen bulbs and components alive and well.
Okay. What about the environmental angle? That seems to come up with almost everything electronic these days. Are halogens worse than LEDs, environmentally speaking?
That's a really important point, and yeah, it is becoming a bigger factor in the long run. Halogen bulbs, unlike a lot of LEDs, can contain materials that need careful, specific recycling.
Okay.
And that high heat generation we mentioned, that ties back to lower energy efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So over their lifetime, they can have a larger carbon footprint compared to an equivalent LED.
Right. Makes sense.
So you're seeing manufacturers increasingly pushing eco-friendly disposal, recycling programs for the bulbs, the batteries. It's part of trying to manage that waste responsibly and meet broader sustainability goals. It definitely plays into their long-term picture.
So putting it all together, this whole story of the halogen flashlight, what does it really tell you, the listener, about how technology and markets and just basic human needs kind of intersect?
What's really fascinating is seeing how a technology that, let's be honest, many people probably think is obsolete,
Yeah, pretty much.
can still carve out these vital, sometimes irreplaceable niches. It's just a great reminder that new isn't automatically better for every single task. Factors like the initial cost, or extreme durability under harsh conditions, or very specific performance needs like that color accuracy we talked about, those can keep an older technology not just relevant, but actually essential.
Yeah, from those super powerful search and rescue beams
Ah.
to critical roles in aviation where you need that precise light, and even playing a part in global recycling discussions, it feels like the halogen flashlight market is this perfect little case study.
It really
It
is.
shows how complex and interconnected the world of products and innovation actually is.
Absolutely.
So, next time you happen to pick up any flashlight, maybe take a second to think about that whole web of design choices, market pressures, and human needs that decides which tech gets the spotlight and for who. What does this persistence of halogen? What does it tell you about what innovation and obsolescence really mean today?